Welcome to the Money, Mindset and Marketing Podcast. My name is Alan and I am going to be your host for this journey. This is the first episode of this podcast and I really want to dig into my journey a little bit and what is the real purpose behind this podcast and why I decided to focus around money, mindset and marketing. This podcast is for you if you are a business owner, if you are somebody who is an entrepreneur, somebody who is wanting to become an entrepreneur or build your own business, or somebody who is just simply looking to maximize their life. This podcast is for you. Over the next few weeks, we have some fantastic guests already lined up. We have the fabulous Buck Wise, who is the Chief Marketing Officer from Cardone Ventures. He's helped brands such as Starbucks and Nike. We have got the fantastic Peyton Welch scheduled to appear on the podcast. He is a sales expert and is the head of sales at Traffic and Funnels. We have Emily Deluzzi, who is the owner and CEO of FitQueen. She has built an incredibly successful online fitness business based around empowering women. And then we have John Lewis, who is another online business entrepreneur who has scaled several businesses way past high six figures. And we have Nate Peterman, who is a marketing expert in the online space, as well as in the music space. So we have got some exciting people already lined up and more still to come. So today, really, I want to dig into, like I say, a little bit about myself, why I feel that I might be able to help, and why I want to add value in the area around money, mindset, and marketing. So I've built several businesses, including a 7-figure recruitment company, and most recently, 2 online businesses, both into the 6-figure run rate mark. So we help business owners to build, stabilize, and scale their online business, primarily without needing to use paid advertising. So this is about understanding some key fundamentals around marketing, not just online, but in general business. But the thing that I see that really comes up with a lot of people is, or with everyone, in all honesty, is that mindset plays an absolutely fundamental role. It's really the front door to everything else. If your mindset is wrong, it doesn't matter how good your business idea is, it won't turn into something that's long-term sustainable. Like, this is something, mindset is an area that I know held me back for a while, and it holds a lot of people back from really realizing their true potential, whether it's because of fear, whether it's because of anxiety, whether it's because of just not knowing how to manage and how to structure their mindset. And money plays a large role in that. So how do we make money? What is our relationship with money? And how can we use money to be able to create the business and the life that we really want to achieve? These are the kind of things that we're going to be going over in this podcast week by week. These are 30 to 40 minute long podcasts. And wherever possible, I really want there to be takeaway lessons. I want there to be things for you to be able to do at the end of this to really create some forward momentum. This is about helping you as well as informing you to really be able to build the business that you're wanting to build and to build that life that you're looking to build. I truly believe that is within grasp for absolutely everybody out there. If you can take the right knowledge and you can apply it in a sequential order, so step by step, not jumping ahead, but actually doing the work, actually doing step 1. And then when you do step 1, you move to step 2. When you've done step 2, you move to step 3. And sometimes you're going to slip back to step 2. If you can do things in this sequential order and you can sit in that pocket which has got pain, has got pressure, has got fear, has got anxiety, but it also has got success. It's got new records. It's got all of these amazing things. It's got feelings and places and experiences that you never thought possible if you can sit there and create the life that you want. So my story, to give you a little bit of a background for those of you that don't know me, as I say, my name's Alan. you can visit my website, alanmiles.com, ALLANMILES.com. There's a link on the homepage for you to be able to join the Money, Mindset, and Marketing Facebook page, which is a page directly linked for this podcast. We will put replays in there, special trainings in there, anything that we can get from guests specifically for our audience. We want to make sure that we create a community around this, because information is great. Obviously, implementing the information is incredibly important to create success, but community and support is something that really helps to drive you forward long term. Being able to surround yourself with people who are like-minded entrepreneurs, or people who want to have a high quality life, who are invested in learning, who are invested in becoming a better version of themselves. If that sounds like you, head on over to my website and then be sure to join that Facebook group. The link will be at the top of the homepage. You won't be able to miss it. There'll be a gigantic button. Give it a click and join the group. So my journey and my story, I grew up just like anybody else. I had a very normal upbringing, with a few exceptions, I suppose. My dad passed away when I was very young. He was in a motorcycle accident. So I grew up with primarily just my mum. Had an older sister and an older brother who I didn't see very much. My sister went away to university, and my brother didn't live with us. I was very shy. I was very insecure. I was the fat kid at school. Let's just tell it as it is. I was bullied, and it was something that I was a very unconfident person. There was no way that you would ever have expected me to be a kind of person who works inside of social media, who has a podcast, who does YouTube videos, who has Facebook, Instagram, who's been featured in articles. It just isn't me. And even now, it still requires me to step outside my comfort zone to really push forward. But as I grew up, I wanted to work very, very early on. So I left school at 16, had my GCSEs. So if you're not in the UK, that's how we obviously grade our high school. So I left with some good GCSEs, but I didn't go on to any further education. So I didn't go to college, didn't go to university. I went out and I worked. Got a job inside of retail and progressed through into management before the age of 18. And I look back and I was that annoying person who was 18 years old, managing people twice my age, trying to adhere to best practice at all times. And maybe I was trying a bit too hard, but I had a passion and I really wanted to create success. It was a goal that really pulled me. And I'm going to come more to talk about goals in a little bit, but having a goal that pulls you is incredibly important. And anyway, I transitioned careers after a few years because I was fed up of the retail world. I was fed up of always working weekends, and it didn't feel like a challenge anymore. So I actually moved over into recruitment, spent 15 years inside the recruitment industry, and owned a couple of businesses in that time. It was a great introduction to the world of business sales, relationship building, account management, all of that side of things. And I finished my career inside of recruitment with a 7-figure recruitment business that was a joint venture with another company. And we did around 1.2 million pounds per year. So about, what's that, like 1.6, $1.7 million a year in annual revenues. So in all honesty, as businesses go, it certainly wasn't a big business, but it was a successful business. Like, I'm not going to sit here and claim to be some multi-millionaire business tycoon, because I'm not. But I am somebody who understands how to build a solid business, but also be able to enjoy life. Because first and foremost, as I moved into adult life, being a dad became something that was incredibly important to me, and absolutely was a goal that pulled me very, very hard. I'm a dad. I have 5 children. I have a beautiful wife, and we live in a lovely house down by the beach on the south coast of the UK. So I've created a life that I love. Do I wake up some mornings and not want to start my day? Of course I do. I'm a normal person. I'm not going to sit here and say every day is filled with flowers and roses and smells like fairy dust. Of course not. Like, I'm no different to anyone else. And even if you do have your mindset in a fantastic place, you still have to execute. You still have to do the things to get you in a good place, because some people are naturally morning people, naturally bubbly, naturally very positive. Other people are naturally not so positive, and it requires effort to see the glass half full. I 100% put my hand up. I am absolutely in that category. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the important thing is understanding who you are, understanding maybe some areas that are your weakness, and being able to really create change. So sometimes it's a case of, I know I need to adjust my mindset, and being aware of that to be able to get me in a good place allows me to be able to move forward. So I sold my recruitment agency, just to finish this story off. I sold my recruitment agency at the very beginning of the year COVID hit. So at the beginning of last year. So probably some quite fortuitous timing. And I had at that point already moved into a second business that I had been running in parallel for a while. And I was an online fitness coach working in the high ticket fitness space. I'd gone through my own fitness journey about 10 years prior, and I'd lost about 110 pounds in weight. So I think I was like 8 or 9 stone in weight. And I had really created change, and I was massively passionate about working in the fitness space. We did this, we built this. Well, I invested a lot of money personally into coaching to get an understanding of how best to attack the online marketplace, and how to be able to build those relationships, how to build the programs, how to cultivate and nurture those environments, and then start to understand more about the high ticket sales world, which, although wasn't a million miles away from the type of sales I'd done before, it was different. There was some nuances, and there was definitely lots to learn. So I invested a lot of money over the next 6 to 9 months, working with as many different coaches and mentors as I could find, until I really found somewhere that felt like home, in an environment that I felt that I could really grow in. And at this point, the fitness business was doing well, but I felt very much like I was being pushed at this point to achieve a goal rather than being pulled. And I referred back to this earlier on, like, you need your long-term goal to really pull you. And I felt like I was kind of starting to stall, and I was starting to need to be pushed constantly. And if you need to be pushed for too long, that flame is going to go out quite quickly. So I took stock, I reviewed where I was at, and I thought, well, what's wrong? Like, what's missing? And for me, it was the business side of things. I loved helping people to achieve their fitness goals, but there was something missing for me. I looked at the people who were truly excelling in the fitness space, and they loved everything, and they still do. Obviously, they still love everything about health and fitness, and digging into it, getting into the weeds with their clients, and really working out those small details. That was their thing. That was what pulled them. And for me, at first that did, but then it turned into a push. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, well, for me, business is the thing that pulls me. I love looking at someone's business. I love taking a person who has an idea but doesn't know how to monetize it in a rapid way, doesn't know how to optimize it, streamline it, and then figure out how to scale it. That's the thing that I love to do. Taking businesses from zero up to tens of thousands, then into hundreds of thousands, then into £1 million plus of revenue. That is the area that I know that I feel at home. So for me, that's what I started to do. I took a big leap, bearing in mind I had a family, a house, 5 children, a wife that were all relying on me to make this a success. It was a big punt, and it required a solid mindset. But more than that, it required a solid support network. And I am, without a shadow of a doubt, without my wife being as supportive as she was, there is no way that we would have created what we created. And she actively isn't involved in the business, but absolutely, she is the pillar that raises me up, because everybody needs that support network. Everybody needs somebody, even if you're a bit of a lone wolf, you need somebody to be able to offload onto. You need somebody to be able to give you a different perspective. because that different perspective can change everything. That doesn't mean necessarily that you have to listen to everyone around you, but you do absolutely need people who understand what you're doing to a high enough degree that they're able to give you a contrasting view to make sure that you don't keep walking in the wrong direction. And I remember listening to something Tony Robbins once said, and he said, if you are constantly walking to the direction of the east and you're trying to see a sunset, you're never going to see it, because the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. If you're forever walking east, you're never going to see the sunset. It doesn't matter how fast you walk, how hard you run, how much you wish for it. It's never going to happen because you're going the wrong way. And that's where that perspective for me is so important, of having my wife there to be able to give me that contrasting view. She has a understanding of what I do for work. Could she coach a client? Maybe, but I'll hesitantly say no. But she understands what we're trying to accomplish. She understands what my mission is and why it's important to me. So she's able to look at this from the perspective of being on my side. And it's important to build that network around you, that support network, who is championing you, who is behind you and wanting you to be successful. And that's very much my story over the last, well, that's my career in a nutshell. And that brings us up to current day. So as it stands at the moment, we help business owners, a lot of business owners in the fitness space, because it was a natural transition. We help business owners in the fitness space to launch, stabilize, and scale their business. But we also help people outside of that niche, because ultimately, if you have a service-based business, the key principles will always remain the same. Marketing is always going to be senior to the sale. If you don't get your marketing right, and I don't mean paying for marketing, and I don't just mean simply putting out pieces of content on Instagram or Facebook, but if you cannot talk about your business, if you cannot get attention about your business, you are never, ever going to be able to grow that business. You have to open that pipeline to be able to pull people in. And the wider that network, the wider the pipeline, the more opportunities you're going to have to enter that sales cycle. So for me, when I look at money, mindset, and marketing, what it really means to me is that in order to be able to live your best life, to be able to build a really successful business, or a business of whatever level of success you want it to be. We don't all need to have £1 billion or $1 billion businesses. Like, let's be honest, like some people, and I would put myself inside of this category. Some people are quite happy building a business which is in the 6 or 7 figure mark, and you can live an incredibly comfortable life. Like that, you don't have to be the top 1%. There are a lot of people out there who want to be the top 1%. And that's great. Go after it. But if you don't want to be the top 1%, you shouldn't feel bad about that. Being in the top 10% or the top 5% or the top 15% of people in the world, that's a fantastic place to be, because money isn't the only driver in life. There's so many other things. But if you can't market yourself, if you can't market your business, well, if you can't market yourself, how are you ever going to find that person that you can build a life with? If you can't market yourself, how are you ever going to build a friendship circle? If you can't market your business, how are you ever going to find customers? And think of it, when you think of the brands that do well, is there a drink in the marketplace that is a better quality drink or has got more nutritional value than Coca-Cola? Absolutely there is. Like, Coca-Cola is not a nutritional beverage. However, they market so effectively, not just through paid advertising, although everyone has got to love the Coca-Cola adverts at Christmas with Santa and the Coca-Cola lorry. Like, that's something people get truly hyped for. I always get excited when that starts to come on. You know, it's like the holidays are coming. I don't know if you get that advert in the US, but you should, if you don't, you should YouTube it, because it's awesome. It's a great thing of, like, Christmas is coming. You immediately create that link. Coca-Cola, Christmas, happiness, good times. Well, there you go. Some clever marketing right there. But they're also in the front of every shelf. On every bit of shelf space, Coca-Cola is trying to take over. And then they have obviously their other products that the company produce. But it comes down to like best known will always beat the best product. And I learned that from Grant Cardone. And I think it's important. I'm going to drop a lot of names of other people as I go through this podcast, because from my perspective, like, I think as much as I would love to be able to say I created all of these concepts and these quotes are mine, or this is mine, and some stuff of it is mine, and I'll be sure to let you know when it is my stuff. But if somebody else created it, I think it's incredibly important that you credit them for it, because at the end of the day, we're not reinventing the wheel here. Like, building a business is not some new thing, whether it's offline or online. Like, you build a business on Mars, it's still a heavily versed subject. Like, we've built businesses offline for years. People have been building businesses online for years. And this is the thing, is that we're not trying to recreate the wheel. We're trying to take solid processes that really allow you to move forward with like your business and your life. So today I want to talk a little bit about beliefs and goals, because I think it's a good starting place. And hopefully over time, people are going to come and find this podcast when we've got 100 or 200 episodes, and they're going to come back to this, and they're going to be able to hear where it all started. And understanding your beliefs and understanding what you're working towards is something that is incredibly important, because when you really look at it, and you ask yourself the question, what are your goals? For a lot of people, they will always create a goal that is a lag indicator. So it's something tied to an end result, but it's something that you cannot directly change. So let me explain. If it was a business, this would be a revenue goal. So you say to somebody, what's your goal? I want £1 million. Okay. If you say to somebody who wants to lose weight, what's your goal? I want to lose 40 pounds. The problem is that this goal is something that for most people is going to be a push, not a pull. And what I mean by that is that you're going to have to dig in and do the work. And for some people, that goal is going to become overwhelming. And that thing that looked positive at first, yeah, I'm going to become a millionaire, all of a sudden, the weight of that starts to weigh on your shoulders, because you told your mum and you told your friends and you put it all over Facebook, and every piece of content you write now about your business, you talk about becoming a millionaire, but actually you still haven't even made £1,000 yet, or $1,000. All of a sudden, that goal that would have at one point in time been motivational and was pushing you to really go, to get up early, to work hard, to dig in for those 15, 16, 17-hour days, all of a sudden, well, it's starting to weigh heavy. And this is where your belief cycle starts to unwind, and you start to go backwards, and you start to create disbelief. So you start to unbelieve that you can do it. And short-term goals, having a lag indicator as your goal, they work well, in my opinion, for short-term push goals. So short-term being anything up to about 3 months. It's no coincidence that when you look at a fitness program as an example, quite often they're 12 weeks, because the initial goal that a lot of people are going to set is going to be a lag indicator goal. I want to lose 20 pounds in 3 months. And at that point, you get to a place in your belief cycle where you hit a wall, and you have to dig in, and accountability will help take you past that initial wall. But what will happen at some point, your goal has to evolve. Like, you have to have more goals in place, and you can still use a revenue goal. But what I'm saying is you have to have a long-term pull goal. Like, what's your purpose? And this is where things become a little bit more high level, because your purpose should be something outside of your control. So your purpose should be not outside of your control, but outside of you. So think of it from the perspective of, and we'll come back to weight loss as the example, and then I'm going to give a business example as well. So somebody who wants to lose weight, they want to lose 20 or 30 pounds, let's say. Well, their purpose all of a sudden may be, and if I look back to my own journey, so where where I lost 100 pounds in weight, what was driving me? Because I didn't set out on day one wanting to lose 100 pounds. I had no idea how much weight I wanted to lose. Just wanted to lose a couple of stone to start with. So for those of you in the US, that's like 28 pounds. It is 2 stone. And it was a case of I just wanted to get some forward momentum and be able to keep it off, because I wanted to be a good dad, and I felt I couldn't play with my kids. All of a sudden, well, there you go. There's my pool goal. There's my purpose. Well, I'm doing this because I want to give my kids everything I didn't have. I didn't have a dad growing up. I've always wanted to be a dad. I love being a dad. And I created this image in my head, this like cheesy Hollywood image in my head of being a dad, like running through a field, like playing with my son. And I've got 2 boys and we've got 3 girls. And it was a case of I wanted to be that dad, like the fun dad, the superhero dad, the bulletproof dad, not the fat dad who couldn't even get up off the sofa dad. Right. I didn't want to be Daddy Pig, for those of you that know Peppa Pig. And it was a case of that was a purpose for me. So some of it was vanity, I suppose. Like I didn't want to look how I looked, but really the thing driving me was being able to give my son, because I only had 1 kid to start with, being able to give my son that father-son bond, be able to kick a football with him and not be out of breath, be able to chase him like I vaguely remember my dad chasing me in those first 4 or 5 years of my life. And that became my purpose. And that pulled me forever. It still drives me now. So I'm in pretty decent shape. For those of you watching on YouTube, hey, but for those of you watching on YouTube, you can obviously see me. I'm a normal guy. Like I just look like a normal person. But there was a point where I was nearly 300 pounds and I'm only 5'9", 5'10" if I stand up really straight. But it was a case that I didn't look normal. Like, and I couldn't do any of these things. I couldn't even bend over to tie my shoes up properly. And that's not even an exaggeration. Like I would stand up winded, bending over. So that purpose, that pull goal is to remain in a good place around food, around exercise, to create healthy habits, not obsessions. I don't restrict myself from anything. And that's where the balance comes in. Like you've got to have some balance here, because if we were to use this as a business example, so let's say, for example, your push goal, the first thing you come up with is I want to get to 10K a month. I'm starting from 0. I want to make £10,000 cash collected profit in my back pocket. I'm going to be earning 120 grand a year. I've never earned that money in my life. That is going to initially drive you to take action. But very quickly, if you're having to work really hard, unless you are very, very, very motivated by money, because maybe you've never had any and you grew up from, you were homeless, or you went through care or something like that, and money is a real trigger for you, like, and that's a very small percentage of people. But for a lot of people, you're going to get to a place where you're potentially earning 5-6 grand a month, and that puts you above the average income across the world. Well, your motivation is going to start to drop off a little bit. Like you're going to start to feel like, oh, I've got to push a bit harder to get to 10K. Like you're going to have to dig in to get there. But if you start to look and go, okay, well, why am I building this business? Like, what's the purpose of this business? What's driving me? Maybe it's freedom. Well, that's a very different goal to somebody who wants to become a business tycoon, who wants to build a legacy and have $10 billion in company revenue. Like freedom is probably one of the biggest reasons that people start their own business, to become their own boss, to be able to pick their own hours, to be able to create that time in life. Freedom is the reason that I sold my agency. I gave the shares back to the other partner because I wanted freedom. I wanted to see my kids. I wasn't seeing them at all. I wasn't seeing my wife, and I was miserable. Freedom is the driver, and time is a lot more valuable than money, in my opinion. And that's going to differ depending on who you are. So when I started this business, yes, I had revenue goals, and yes, I wanted to earn a good level of money, and we do. Like we're a successful, at this point, we consistently hit like solid six figures. So we are a successful business. We've only been trading for a couple of years, and like we continue to grow, but we actually cap our own growth because freedom and time is the thing that's more important to me. Obviously, we build teams, we build systems, and we leverage out of activities so that I can continue to have that freedom. But actually, simply growing as fast as humanly possible is not my main focus. And at some points, your mind will maybe drift. Like there was some points I can think of when we first launched that it was about how can we get as much money through the door as quickly as possible? How can we go get more clients? How can we get more? We need more, we need more, we need more. Until all of a sudden, I found myself starting to get boxed into a very similar situation. And I was like, I've been here before. I feel under pressure. I feel stressed. I feel like I'm not enjoying this. And the moment the joy starts to go is the moment for me that I know I need to take a step back and really be able to review where I'm at and get some clarity from a mindset perspective of how to move forward. So this podcast today is simply about goals and beliefs. The belief cycle is something that I think is one of the more interesting areas around mindset, because it's something that's very pivotal in everyone's success, but also in their failings. And failing is not a bad thing. Like you need to fail. You need to fail more than you succeed, without a doubt. There is no discussion around that. Like you look at everyone who is truly successful in the world. Michael Jordan, he failed way more times at basketball than I ever did, because he's so successful. Like, and it's one of those things, like look at anyone who is truly successful. Look at them in the business world. People have failed over and over and over again. Doesn't mean they've gone bankrupt, but sometimes they have. But it's really about understanding failure is not a bad thing. Failure is just a metric. It didn't work. Let's try something else. If you stop when something doesn't work, well, then in that case, that can be very detrimental. But that's because you gave up. That's because your goal didn't pull you. That's because your goal just pushed you, and it pushed you so far, it pushed you off the cliff. Like you need a goal that is going to pull you forward. So the belief cycle is a very simple thing. The amount of belief you have leads to the amount of opportunity that you see, and the amount that you believe in yourself that you might be able to do it. That leads to you taking action, and then that in turn starts to lead to a result. As you start to see a positive result, you start to achieve some kind of goal, that leads to you having a heightened level of belief, which leads to you taking more action, which leads to seeing more results, and it goes round and round and round, and it continues to increase. Think of it in reverse. So think of it with a short-term goal. Let's work that through. So you start with a short-term goal. I'm going to launch my business and I'm going to make 100K in the first 30 days. Okay. I'm going to have to hustle, I'm going to have to work hard. So you have the belief that I can do it. I can definitely do this. I've seen people that have done it. I can definitely do this. So you start hustling, you start grinding, you have a purpose. You feel like, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm going, I'm moving forward. You're taking action, and you start to see some kind of result. You start to maybe earn your first 1,000, first 10,000, first 15,000, 20,000. So your belief levels go up. They go up again. You get to week 3, maybe week 4, maybe month 2 or month 3. Or sorry, we're trying to do this in 30 days, aren't we? So we get to week 2 or week 3, and all of a sudden, naturally, something inside of you starts to kick in. That wall starts to appear. Like your brain starts going, do we really have to do this? Because like we've already earned £60,000 or $60,000 in the last 3 weeks. This is more than we used to earn in a year. So we could just take our foot off the gas a bit now if we wanted, because we're doing really good. And you have to be incredibly disciplined to push through that. And there isn't a right or wrong whether you should push or you shouldn't. Obviously, if you want to achieve the goal, well, you need to push. But this is the thing. All of a sudden, you have a decision to make. Like you maybe are starting to get up a little bit later. You start to lay in a little bit. You start to not push quite so hard on the lead generation or the sales or the service, whatever it is, whatever you're doing, you notice that you're not subconsciously pushing as hard as you were when you had zero. And there's ways to work around this. So there's ways to bypass that thought process. So for example, taking yourself down to zero every day, creating that feeling of, where am I going to earn money from today? I haven't got any money. Where am I going to get it from today? There's also the approach of being able to look at it from the perspective of creating that fire. Like who's driving you? Like who is maybe like creating I remember watching a documentary with Michael Jordan in it, and he would create these grudges with people that didn't even exist, just to get himself fired up to be able to absolutely like dominate the opponent when he went out on the court. Like there's so many different ways you can use to bypass that feeling. The alternative would be to create that goal that pulls you. So all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, I'm going to see what I can do revenue wise. I'd love to work towards that 100K mark. Like, I'll be honest, as long as I'm like working hard and pushing forward, like the revenue level isn't too much of an issue in these first 30 days, but 100K is the mark. If I can hit 100K, that would be my ideal goal. Have a secondary and third level goal as well. So you've got something higher, something a bit lower. So you've got that median level to really shoot for. But then it's about tying it to what is that for? Like, what are you trying to create? I'm launching this business, and in the first 30 days, we want to get off to a big start. Why? Because I want to create freedom. Inside of the next 6 months, I want to be completely leveraged out of the business. I'm going to build a business that allows me to build or invest into my church, into my community. It allows me to be able to go and buy a new house for my family, to be able to allow us to have a family, whatever it might be. It's about finding that bigger goal. It's about tying it to that greater level of purpose. So for those of you that would like an actionable step from the back end of this, and you don't have to do this, but it's just something that I think it's nice to take action on things. A lot of us understand the principle of a goal. A lot of us understand the principle of belief and the belief cycle and the importance of having a bigger goal, a bigger purpose. But when was the last time you reviewed your goal? Like, when was the last time you set a goal? Maybe you're new to the world of entrepreneurs and business building. Maybe you don't have a goal right now, and you definitely don't have a purpose-driven goal. So I would love for you to review your goal and understand, like, what is your short-term goal, your push goal, and what is your long-term goal, your pull goal. Hopefully you have found this podcast something that is beneficial. Please leave a review. I love your feedback. This is how I really want to focus on growing this podcast. This is something that is for you guys. Like, this is a resource that I'm trying to create that I wish I could have found when I first started on my journey. There's so many people out there talking about always being that top 1%, and there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, it's great to have high goals, but there is a core group of people who I believe want to be elite, but also want to have that balance inside of life. And they need to get that balance between money, mindset, and obviously marketing to push themselves and their life forward. Like, I want to be your resource and your guide. Please be sure to join our Facebook community. Visit my website, alanmiles.com. Join the Facebook group from there, or you can search for Money Mindset and Marketing. We obviously are a group on Facebook, so you'll be able to find us that way. And it has been my pleasure. I will still see you all again next week. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.